Yeah, I got something real heavy. Peter Kadges of the Boston Phoenix, Cosmo Macero of O'Neill Associates, and Cosmo, I promise I will not ask you to comment on Steve Jobs today. If you were watching yesterday, you get that inside joke.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Gino gave me the heads up, so I passed that along.
A little bit of trouble yesterday.
Here's what I will ask you to comment on, and I'm glad you're well. Occupy Boston. The mayor moves in last night, says that's it. They arrest over 100 of these guys because they were sort of expanding. Should the mayor have done what he did?
I've been wondering what's the purpose? What do they want? Now we know. Those shrubs are way too expensive.
Agreed.
Those shrubs are way
150 grand worth of shrubs the city wanted to protect.
Hey, look, I've said this before. I'm all in favor of civil disobedience, okay? After a while, you got to expect that you've made your point, and I'm not sure that these folks actually know what their point is. You've made your point, and you got to move along, or people are going to start getting dragged out of there. And
you don't know what their point is. Didn't you see the sign protesting Columbus Day yesterday?
It's Columbus Day. It's higher education. It's corporate America. It's the $5 debit fee. It's the 99%. We're too big to... It's everything. It's everything. So after a while, after you've made your point, you know what? It's time to move along, because we all have to get on with our lives.
However, on the other hand, Peter, could this strategy backfire in that people see the cops are getting a little rough and tough up in Boston? We better get up there to support these guys. Could there be an influx of Occupy Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, etc. to Boston now?
I think there could be. I mean, that's what certainly happened in New York City after the mass arrest of 700. Listen, I've been down there several times, and I'm impressed by especially the young people, not the older people there, but the young people. I'm surprised it's taken so long for this to happen. I mean, you've got a lot of people who are getting out of college and have no prospects for a job. I do think, though, that just as the police need to be careful, and frankly, they have been so far. They've been, up until now, excellent relations that I've seen down there, and I've always seen the police commissioner, not always, I regularly have seen the police commissioner standing in the distance there. He's very hands-on. I would say that for the protesters, they too need to be careful that they don't alienate or dissipate the goodwill that they've broken up. So this is sort of an important point for both sides.
Ultimately, Cosmo, where does this go now? Because do they stay in their little area, or are we going to have another problem fairly soon?
Look, we're a long way from the World Trade Organization Seattle, fiasco with rubber bullets and stuff. But I'm not that impressed, and I don't want to whine or sound cranky, but let me whine and sound cranky. I got out of college in the teeth of the real estate collapse in a huge recession with almost no prospects for a job, and I figured it out. So figure it out. Make your point. That's great. Now it's time to get back to what you were doing: finishing school, looking for a job, putting this civic responsibility to good use. Maybe working for a charitable organization. Do something productive. This is no longer that productive.
All right, I want to shift topics for a second, because you guys are both newspaper men, have been for a long time. I want to get your take on the Boston Globe in this Whitey tipster controversy. They released her name and her picture, Miss Iceland, 1974, I think. And in today's paper, they explain why they did that. First, Peter, if the Phoenix had this name and this information, would they have run with it? Would you have debated it? Do you know an organization that wouldn't have run this stuff?
I would have a hard time imagining any newspaper, any news organization that wouldn't have gone with this name after a lot of consideration. As the Globe statement pointed out, they did alert the FBI. But let's get real here for a second. You raise very legitimate points, but let's get real. Like most government, quote, secrets, unquote, everyone knows about it except the people. Whitey Bulger knew about it, the FBI knew about it, then the Globe knew about it. I think the Globe performed a public service. As they explained in their statement, there was a lot of questions about whether there really was a tipster. Listen, I don't see how the Globe could have found out who it was without someone from the FBI leaking.
If that's true, Cosmo, members of Congress have already called for an investigation, and they want whoever leaked it from the FBI fired. My question is this: if Shelley Murphy or someone from the Globe is called to testify in front of Congress, and they're asked to reveal their source, do they protect their source unlike they protected the tipster?
Well, I think they protect their source. That's sort of the duty and responsibility of a journalist. I have to agree that balancing this all out, there really was sort of overwhelming public interest. in this information. I think it was a remarkable piece of journalism. As long as they could satisfy, and it sounds like from what they wrote in the paper today, I had a chance to speak to Shelley Murphy briefly yesterday, they were able to satisfy their legitimate concern for the safety of this witness, for the fact that they felt very strongly that the two suspects already knew who she was, and I can kind of get a sense of how that probably happened in interrogations. So I think that public interest really does outweigh this. Outweigh the other concerns, and they've satisfied that in their reporting.
And a word of advice for Congress: stop showboating, butt out, do something about unemployment.
And a word of advice to the Herald: stop being so jealous of the Globe in this case. Peter Kadges, Cosmo Macero, there, the heavy hitters.